Welcome to another edition of eYe Education. I'm your host, Ed Leicius, and today we're going to be talking about food. We're very pleased to welcome to the program today Dalia Daigle, who is the Food Services Director for the Nashua School District. Welcome.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
You've been with Nashua for how long?
Since 2018, December of 2018. So, where's my math? Almost 4 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's been a fast 4 years and a challenging 4 years.
Mm-hmm. Very eventful 4 years. Yeah.
And you have quite a background.
Yes.
From New Jersey. Mm-hmm. And after school, you began your career. And tell us a little bit about what brought you to Nashua eventually.
Well, after I graduated college, I worked in college dining, and I worked at Montclair State for about 4 years, and then I fell in love. I moved to New Hampshire. That love did not work out, but I fell in love with New Hampshire, so I stayed in college dining. I got to work at UNH, so I was a wildcat for about 8 years. And when I got married and had my son, I fell in love with him more. I was a 24-hour around-the-clock supervisor at UNH, and I went to my mentor and I said, I love my job so much, but again, I love my life at home more. And he said, why don't you think about and consider a food service director? You work when the kids work, you can even work at your children's school. At the time, you know, my child is only an infant, but I was looking around online. I saw that Nashua was hiring, and it was just in luck. I put in my resume, and all my skills were transferable. So I got called for an interview, and I don't know, here I am. I have an amazing boss, and he's not paying me to say that, but but he hired me, took his chance on me, and we've had a great relationship since. But it's been very interesting last 4 years, to say the least.
I'm sure, because even though the students weren't at school, you still had to make lunch.
Oh, yes, we did. So I think fast forward about a year and a half into the job, I got that phone call on a Friday afternoon that they made the decision. And within that time, I called a few of the coordinators, a few staff members, and they said, Dalia, we're going to be there on Monday making sandwiches at the South. Got in touch with the union president and for the teachers union. He said, Dalia, what do you need? I said, I need people distributing food. So I had a whole bunch of our lunch staff in making sandwiches. We even have pictures to prove it of that glorious day. And we made about 1,000 or 2,000 bag lunches that day, and they were all distributed by our very own Nashua school teachers on those first 2 days. And then United Way took over on that Wednesday, and it kind of built this mecca of distributing food for about a year and a half.
Mike Appleberg to the rescue.
Exactly.
I mean, he has changed the whole face. I don't know if you realize this.
I didn't know.
Of United Way in Nashua.
Okay. Yeah.
It's not your mother's United Way anymore.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. He became like what they say, bestie. I don't know if everybody, he would call me literally every day at 3:30 and be like, what do you need? What's happening? And he formed it into, it was very at ease. He enjoyed it so much. I was beyond stressed. I was a mother of two. My daughter wasn't even one yet, and dealing with their daycare closing and school closing, I had to deal with that on my own. But Mike had this ease about him. It's like I'm trying to sell him, but sell United Way. But he just had this ease about him where he said, okay, focus on making the school lunches. We'll focus on distributing them. I'll focus on everything else. And he created these programs where he would deliver, pick up groceries and deliver them to homes, and just kept coming up with more and more ideas and gave me the confidence and to really just continue what we're doing. We started giving away, sending lunches we used at the Nashua Transit, and that. So he was connecting me with that. Things I've never even think that we would be able to do. So it really put Nashua as on top in New Hampshire as being like the first to feed the students and not skip a beat.
School bus route deliveries.
School buses too. We started that later on when we couldn't use Nashua Transit because they had to start picking up people.
Right.
So that was a lot of fun too.
Well, I know of very few people who can say no to Mike when he calls.
Oh, yeah,
and
that's
again,
true.
because of the innovation.
Yeah.
And I mean, buzzword is think out of the box. Oh, Mike threw the box away a long time ago.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And it was great to, hear you talk about it again, because I don't think a lot of people realized what was going on then, other than the fact that lunches were being done. And now the school's back in.
Yes.
You're responsible for lunches in all the schools, and it's not rocket science. The two high schools are probably your biggest customers.
Oh, yeah, for sure. We serve about 1,000 kids a day. There's 2,000 each enrolled at each high school, so we serve about 1,000 a day. And it's quite the adventure. The students, I don't know, are very polite. We get thank yous all the time. So, but we do run into the challenges of not having enough staff to serve them.
We'll get into that in just a minute. The other challenge is, you know, from when I was in Mount Pleasant and Nashua High, the dietary needs and concerns have changed greatly. What's an average of, say, the high school, what's an average daily meal plan that's out there? You know, obviously sandwiches, but hot lunches, salad, what do you...
So what's great about the program and things that I needed to learn coming from the university, nothing's deep fried, nothing's like 500 calorie or 800 calorie muffins that we used to sell back at UNH. We do focus on health and teaching the university students on how to create their own plan. But in this role, it's like reversed. I'm here to teach them on what to choose. Like for a breakfast, we have to offer a fluid milk, they have to have a grain, a fruit, and then for lunch, we have to make sure we guide them through. So they have to have a fluid milk or juice. They definitely have to take their fruits or veggies, at least a cup a day, and have at least a grain or a protein on their plate before they can even walk out of our facility.
You get much pushback from the kids?
We do. The students don't understand why we have to hand fruit, but we try to kind of not trick them in a way, but we'll put a salad out and we'll make sure that we're required to put like a red tomato, you know, a red vegetable, an orange vegetable. So we always have the carrots and apples cut up, trying to mimic what they had as children. So we try to push them like here, but this is more of an adult, so you can have a salad with that instead of the bread or the grain and things like that. So there are some pushbacks for the folks that don't want to drink milk, but it's okay.
Now you've got 2 high schools, 3 middle schools, and the 12 elementaries?
12, yeah.
Is it a different menu like at the high school, and then the middle school has another menu, and the elementaries? So that's challenging.
It is, but I have a wonderful staff that helps support me. Being a large school district, you have a few folks that you delegate certain jobs to. So we have a woman that makes our menus for the elementaries. We use a lot of government donated food too. That is it's not just your ordinary government brown box food. This is like, like the fresh craisins and things like that, that she will design a whole menu just for the elementaries, similar. The middle schools, because of COVID and the shortness of staff, we've been using the elementary menu, but we are required to increase the certain percentage of, like, instead of a half a cup, we have to give them a cup. So, but middle school, we introduce them to be a little bit more independent and make options. So we'll give them like, hey, we either have a pizza, a sandwich, or the hot lunch that we're serving that day. When you get to high school, you get more of the a la carte items. So it really at that point when you get to high school, if you go through our program, you should really understand what is healthy, why we're asking you to pick up a milk, a fruit, and a veggie. Now the kids, I'm at the register myself, and now they just know. They just look at me and they're like, I got the fruit, Dahlia, I got it. Can I take 2? Yes, you could take 2, great. And I love seeing that. But there's some kids that just are like, I'm just not gonna eat it. I'm like, well, give it to a friend, right when you leave, but yeah.
So you're back in school.
Yes.
That presents another challenge. You had a challenge during COVID of getting the food distributed outside.
Yes.
Now, the big thing is, like everyone else, you're having trouble getting help.
Yeah, we are.
How many employees do you have now, roughly?
So we have about, I want to say 80. We have about 35 positions that are still vacant.
Wow.
We just had a few folks when, they may either be still homeschooling their children and haven't re-enrolled. We have a few folks that were retirees that used to work for us, and they just remained retired. We dearly miss some of those folks too, because they were our staples in the kitchen. They would be at that register. They would be, just that cheerleader to us. And there was a lot of, grandmothers and aunts and uncles and whatnot that we don't have working for us. So we're trying to build back that community. Hey, when you go to the supermarket, if you see a mom with kids, like, hey, well, what are you doing this week? You want to maybe work for, food service. It's that kind of connection that we're trying to reestablish.
What the typical positions that you're looking to fill?
So we have positions ranging from 3-hour positions to 6.5-hour positions, just basically coming in from either like 10 to 1:30 or 10:30 to 2, coming in just serving the students, putting food on a plate and just passing it on and smiling and making that connection. Right now, because of being short-staffed, it's finding that difficult to make that personal connection. They do, though. They make sure they do that in the morning at least, and they understand each and every student. So, yeah.
And you've even had to get some hands-on. I
Yes.
mean, you changed before coming in today, and I said I might have had a bit of visual. Had you had your hat? And,
they gave me the day off. They gave me the lunchtime period off. I did tell them where I was, and I did set it up for they do have coverage. I do have some fabulous staff, and having that experience, I wish I did it all around, and that's my university experience. I would fill in for everybody, and I always got that. So really being hands-on and with the students and seeing things at their ground level has been very, eye-opening, and I've already appreciated them and thanked them so much, but this I could have much more of a true appreciation for what they do.
Now, what's the average staffing, say, at the high school, middle schools, and elementary?
Well, at the high schools, we're usually a staff of 18, and we're down to 4.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and we're building it back up. We hired a really, I'm using an example from the other day. We hired someone that just moved to the area, wanted to get to know Nashua. Her son is a freshman in high school right now. It was just a perfect fit. She practically begged us.
Okay.
And then, so it was kind of great. We were like, no, you have so many skills with your skill set. You used to work at a deli and you want to work with a register? Yes. It's like, that's what we're doing it for the students, more so the pay, you say. Yeah.
In the elementary schools, I guess a little less staff-wise, or?
Yeah, so we really tried to not skip a beat at our elementary. So we really plucked from our high schools to make sure that our elementary staff was packed. But some things are inevitable.
Right.
People leave on the whim because they might have had a different opportunity, or they're moving across the country, or things like that. So that's where it's still a little rocky. Even talking to you in October. So.
And as with anything, timing is everything.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the school lunch costs for families are kicking in as inflation jumps in.
Yeah.
And the free lunch program, is that still available? And if so, how does a person qualify? What do they need to do if they're watching today? Yeah,
so Universal Meals ended June 30th, so everyone was free. So right now, there's certain qualifications on how you make per household. So if you think that you qualify, for programs like SNAP and whatnot, you may qualify. You just have to fill out a free and reduced application. And it's not just for free and reduced meals. It also qualifies you to get discounts in sports,
the athletic fees,
and the fees and things like that, bus fees and whatnot. So really encouraging the folks that think that they qualify to apply.
Is there a large percentage of students in Nashua that qualify?
Well, pre-pandemic, we had about 43%, and now we're at like 38, 39. So there still is a percentage. It still is very high. Yeah. So, but we're working our magic at the registers, really trying to just keep it very discreet, as we do it. We have a great support team within the school district, guidance counselors, homeschool liaisons will come out and really help support. If they know there's a group of families that might need it or don't understand how to fill it out, they're there. We've educated them. We've even educated Mike from United Way on how to use our online service too. We're like, we need your help, Mike, and and folks throughout our community partners too. So they have a great understanding now why it's important to fill out those applications too.
Now, is the free breakfast program still in effect too? Or?
So we do have a breakfast program, but what was great is that they carried over the reduced students. So free and reduced is free for those. So, but paid is still paid. Okay. So, but a fairly decent price. At the high school, it's $1.75. You can't get a breakfast sandwich, a juice, a milk, and a fruit for $1.75. And they're delicious. They're as good as going to someone's house and having a croissant, egg and cheese. Not many people get to have that. So it's really nutritious too.
And it's good to know that these students are starting the day with a nutritious meal.
Yes.
They're having lunch. Mm-hmm. And you know, beyond that, there are programs like End 48 Hours of Hunger
Yes.
and other programs available to them.
That fill in the gaps. That's the word that I learned.
yes.
They fill in the gaps.
And the high school also has food pantries.
Yes.
And that helps. And it's just an ongoing challenge day after day, but you seem to be enjoying it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And rising to the occasion. And it's wonderful. So don't need any cooks? Or do you have enough cooks right now?
We have cooks now. A lot of folks, they're so kind-hearted. I can't thank my staff enough. I don't know if I said that over and over again. That usually just comes out first thing when someone asks me about food service. I'm like, oh my goodness, I just want to thank my staff. But the cooks rose to the occasion when we just couldn't find someone and applicants weren't coming in. We had a few individuals that said, okay, I'll do it. I'll apply. I know that I can do this. Can I please, you know, and then they interviewed and they got the job. I'm like, you were qualified the whole time. I go, we're here to motivate you. We're here to train. So yeah, it's quite beautiful to have those moments with the staff.
Well, recently there was a press conference held, and Mike Appleberg and others were participating in that. And we do have some of that footage, which we're going to show you right now as part of this interview.
I wanted to start out with an email that I just received within the last 10 minutes from the school McKinney-Vento liaison here in Nashua. For those who don't know, a McKinney-Vento liaison is the person in the school district who's responsible for providing supports for homeless youth in the schools. And in Nashua, we have approximately 400 students who've been identified as homeless within the district. And of course, food security is a big issue if you're homeless. So, hey Mike, I have a family currently in a motel. The student says that he is hungry. This is as timely as it gets. I talked to mom and she said that they only have a microwave and that she's only making a few things, which our kids just are sick of eating. I think I can probably relate to that. So they just won't eat. After talking some more, we found that a hot plate and an air fryer might be helpful. What are your thoughts? And so forth. So this is, I think, a really excellent example of how things get done in our community. Things get done in Nashua through collaboration, and really solving big problems only happen through collective impact, through all of us coming together to surround the families and the children with solutions that are going to make sense. I'm going to give a couple of examples of how we've worked collectively to solve problems both throughout the pandemic, before the pandemic, and currently. And I think this is probably, you know, just a really good example of how these things tend to happen. I get a call from my friend Betsy, who I'm going to introduce in a minute. Betsy says, from Southern New Hampshire Health, we have these carts that we've purchased for the school district because of a grant that was received in part through New Hampshire Hunger Solutions. Dahlia from the school district has them being delivered to United Way because we don't have anywhere to send them because it's the middle of a pandemic. Can you put them together and distribute them throughout the schools? So this is a lot of moving pieces and parts, but of course, all of these are really important. We have resources, we have places that have a need, we have funds that have come together, and then we have an army of volunteers at United Way who can help to make this happen. So that's what we did. We recruited volunteers, they put them together, they put them out into the schools. Dahlia is able to implement a program in the schools for accessing breakfasts, with the help of Betsy and New Hampshire Hunger Solutions to provide the resources. That's really how we solve problems in a community like Nashua. Let me just give a couple of other quick examples, and then I'll turn the microphone over to my friend Betsy. So another program started on, well, March 20th, March of 2020, when I got a call from my friend at the Nashua Teachers Union, Adam, saying, Mike, school got closed on Monday. Our teachers union has been distributing the grab and go breakfasts and lunches for the schools to help support Dahlia since then. But by Wednesday, we're going to have to be doing remote teaching, and we don't know how to do that. So I'm not sure that I can continue to provide the resources to distribute grab-and-go breakfasts. Is there anything that you can do? And by Friday of that week, we had mobilized several hundred volunteers for what we thought was going to be a couple of weeks, maybe a month, ended up being 2 years of distributing grab-and-go breakfasts. Over the course of the pandemic, we ended up distributing, with our volunteers, and the support of Dahlia and her crew, over 125,000 breakfasts and lunches to the students of Nashua. And that's access which was barrier-free. When we talk about the need for people to sign up for free and reduced lunch, it's really critical that people realize that the day of totally free, completely barrier-free access is over. And we need to make sure that people do sign up for these resources so they can get the food the kids need to learn. And I could go on and on with examples like this, but I'm going to turn it over to Betsy, who's going to talk a little bit more about what Solution Health and Southern New Hampshire Health has done to support all of these efforts, which we're very grateful for as well. So thank you for coming today. And my friend Betsy Hood, Director of Community Engagement, Southern New Hampshire Health.
Hey, good morning. So I'm Betsy Hood, the Director of Community Partnerships at Southern New Hampshire Health. As a member of the Greater Nashua Food Council, when I heard the statistic that approximately 25 students go to the school nurse every day on average due to hunger-related illness, that was a huge wake-up call for me. And I can't even imagine trying to concentrate in school, to focus, to behave, when I'm hungry and stressed out about being hungry. And so I said, like, what can we do about that? As a hospital system, as a health system, like, this is really important to us, and what can we do? And that's when New Hampshire Hunger Solutions talked about the idea of the best practice of these grab-and-go food carts. It's super easy for kids to come in, they swipe their ID, they could get a free breakfast, get a free lunch, because the other piece was statistically, far fewer children were actually getting the food that they're eligible to get. So it just didn't make any sense. So I went to our senior leadership team at Southern New Hampshire Health and said, can we make an investment in this incredible community project? It was just under $24,000 to purchase 26 share carts that serviced all of Nashua's 17 schools. So we are just incredibly proud to have been able to provide that support to the community and to work with all the incredible partners that you hear about today. And we're just so excited to see some data in the future about how this has really successfully impacted children. And with that, I'm so pleased to introduce you to my friend and colleague, the Deputy Director of New Hampshire Hunger Solutions, Jessica Gorhan.
Hi, I'm Jessica Gorin, Deputy Director of New Hampshire Hunger Solutions and also co-coordinator of the Greater Nashua Food Council. As you've heard today, a well-nourished child who starts a day with breakfast is more likely to be at school and ready to learn. We also know through the Rockefeller Foundation that for every dollar spent in school meals, there's a $2 return on investment back to the local community. Reduced visits to the school nurse for hunger, improved academic performance and behavior, improved health outcomes for children are all associated with eating breakfast at school. And I want to just highlight that that's at school because all of these evidence-based studies have shown that it's breakfast at school that really gets their day going, even if they've already had breakfast at home, because that may have been 2 or 3 hours earlier. The best practice that Betsy spoke about is breakfast after the bell. So New Hampshire Hunger Solutions is working around the state. Myself and our child nutrition director, Allison Foote, are working with school districts to help implement breakfast after the bell models. That means that we have grab-and-go carts like these that were donated and put together by community partners like Southern New Hampshire Health Services and United Way. And the students can come into the school, they can grab a breakfast, and they can take it back to their classroom. Some schools during the pandemic were able to do breakfast in the classroom, which meant that it reduced that barrier of kids having to choose whether they were playing on the playground with their friends or going into the classroom to have breakfast while attendance was being taken and kids were getting settled in. The other option is breakfast after the bell. Both high schools now at Nashua in Nashua School District are offering breakfast after the bell for their students. So if they're hungry after the first bell rings, they can go right to the cafeteria and grab something to eat because Nashua School District knows how important it is to feed students. And I just want to say, and wrap this up by saying that the free and reduced meal forms are so important for families to fill out. Not only do they feed more students who are eligible and need those meals every day, as we heard our friend Mike talk about, but they also provide additional funds to the school districts. When school districts have over 50% free and reduced eligibility, they are able to receive federal Title I funds that help to pay for before and after school programs, that help to offer offer college waivers for applications, to offer athletic waivers, transportation waivers, and also help school districts qualify for additional adequacy funds from the state. So that free and reduced meal form is more than a meal, but of course, feeding children is our first priority. Thank you.
That was very interesting. And you know, Mike, as I said, he has rewritten the book on the United Way and how they function, and has certainly in a very short time there made a name for himself and reinvented the agency. And he is one of the go-to people in Nashua, no question. But you better be careful. Because at some point he may be asking you to go over the edge on one of these days.
Yes. I don't know.
Is there anything we haven't covered that you'd like to say before we sign off today in terms of needs, wants, or how can the community help you?
Well, wow, yes. Community is just getting the word out on how I work with NH Hunger Solutions as well, and Mike did a fabulous job, like we said, and helped me assist. People end up going to him for food, and he's like, but I don't do food. Everyone comes to me, you know, but he's that guy. He's that go-to guy. But for us as food service, it's really educating the community on why we serve the food that we do. And when I tell you about meal patterns, like we discussed earlier, about a breakfast having a grain of fruit and a milk, and it's educating the students on that. And then also just the need to fill our kitchens again with staff, for those folks that if you're just sitting home, retired, come and work for us. We're a very happy bunch of people, and we'll definitely have a job for you. I'm not trying to put a plug in there, but it's true. We need them. And for us, we want to build back, you know, going forward, we want to build back that community and that connection. We want the aunties, I'm saying it in a New England accent, but Jersey, it's aunties. We want those aunties and uncles and brothers and sisters and parents to come out of the woodwork and help us rebuild that community and join us in the kitchens and help serve our students too. And
get to work with you. You exude energy, and you know you're a great.
I'm holding it all in.
You're a great boss. I mean,
so.
how can you not want to go to work every day and be greeted with this smile and enthusiasm, and because it's a thankless job.
Yeah, it is. But I have some amazing people that work for me, and I'm not just saying that just to plug them in. They're outstanding individuals.
When you're trying to make so many meals for so many different people with different tastes, and the fact that you are under a little more scrutiny and regulation than when I was in school, it's great, and it's been a pleasure talking with you, and wish you continued success, and thank you to you and the great staff people that work for you.
Well, thank you for taking the time to talk with me today. This is wonderful.
Happy to do it.
Yeah, thank you.
Continued success. We've been talking to the Food Services Director for the Nashua School District, Dahlia Daigle, and I thank you for watching this edition of EYe on Education. Continue to follow us here on the Education Channel. Have a great day. I'm Ed Lecious. Thanks for watching.